78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and shockingly, that includes people making six figures. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what to do with your money at every income level, $35, $75K, $100K, and beyond. You'll get specific percentages, accounts, and strategies that work for your actual salary, not some theoretical perfect situation. No vague advice or just invest. Nonsense here. Just practical steps tailored to what you're really earning. That fancy income doesn't mean anything if you're still managing money like you're broke in college. Stick around to finally get your finances on track. The money mindset trap, why your income bracket doesn't matter if you're thinking wrong. Here's a wild reality check. Making more money won't fix your financial problems if your money mindset is still broken. I know, that sounds like some motivational poster nonsense. But stick with me, because this might be the most important financial advice you'll ever hear. Think about it. Have you ever gotten a raise or a better paying job and thought, finally, my money problems are over? Then 3 months later, you're somehow still struggling to make ends meet? That's not a coincidence, and you're definitely not alone. Check this out. According to a recent survey, nearly 60% of Americans making over $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. Let that sink in. These are people making six figures who still feel broke by the end of the month. And it gets crazier. About a third of people earning $250,000 or more report the same problem. That's $250,000 earners who still stress about money. So what gives? Why are people earning more than double the median American income still financially stressed? It's because they're using the exact same financial strategies and mindsets they had when they were making half as much. I call this the mental money migration problem. Your income migrated to a new bracket, but your financial thinking is still stuck in the old neighborhood. Picture this. My friend Ava started her career making about $42,000 as a marketing coordinator. She lived in a modest apartment with a roommate, drove a used Honda, and was careful about her spending. Fast forward 5 years, and Ava's killing it. She's now a marketing director, making $115,000. But here's what happened. She moved to a luxury apartment that's 3 times her old rent. She bought a brand new BMW on a 72-month loan. She upgraded her wardrobe, started eating at fancier restaurants, and took more expensive vacations. Her expenses grew in perfect proportion to her income. Actually, they grew even faster because of lifestyle creep. Despite nearly tripling her income, Ava has less in savings now than she did before. This lifestyle inflation is the silent killer of financial progress. Each income bracket requires a completely different approach to how you think about and manage your money. When you're making $35K, your financial strategy is primarily focused on survival and stability, building that emergency fund, avoiding high-interest debt, and making sure your basic needs are covered. But if you're still thinking this way at $100K, you're missing huge opportunities for wealth building. Let's be real. Financial advice usually comes in one-size-fits-all packages. Save 20% of your income, max out your 401K, cut out the laddies. But that advice hits very differently when you're making $35 versus $100. For someone making $35K, saving 20% might mean choosing between a doctor's visit and paying the electric bill. For someone making $100K, it's challenging but typically doable with the right strategy. This is why we need to stop thinking about raw income numbers and start thinking about financial stages instead. Your financial stage is about your financial responsibilities, your goals, and the tools available to you at each level. Throughout this video, we're going to use something called the format framework to break down each income bracket. First, we'll explain why typical advice fails at your specific income level. Then we'll cover what you should be focusing on instead. Next, we'll show you exactly how to implement these strategies in practical terms. Finally, we'll address what-if scenarios, how to handle unexpected challenges that come up at your income level. And just to be clear, this isn't about making you feel bad if you're in a lower income bracket, or superior if you're in a higher one. Financial success isn't about hitting a specific number. It's about optimizing whatever you have right now while building towards the next level. I've seen people making $40 with more financial security than others making $150K, simply because they understood the game at their level and played it beautifully. And that's what I want for you, to master the game at your current level so you can level up effectively. When I work with clients one-on-one, I see this transformation all the time. People who've been spinning their wheels financially suddenly make massive progress once they implement the right strategies for their specific income bracket. And the changes aren't small. We're talking about going from constant money stress to actual financial confidence in a matter of months. The financial strategies that help you thrive at 35K will actually hold you back at 75K, and the strategies that work at 75K will prevent you from building serious wealth at 100K plus. Each level requires its own playbook. When you're making 35K, it makes perfect sense to focus intensely on reducing expenses and finding ways to earn a little extra on the side. But if you're still obsessing over saving $5 on groceries when you're making 100K, you're playing checkers when you should be playing chess. Your energy is wasted on small savings while you could be impacting thousands through tax optimization and investment growth. This is why so many people making good money still feel broke. They've upgraded their income, but they're using outdated financial strategies. They're still clipping coupons when they should be optimizing their tax strategy. They're still putting everything in a savings account when they should be building an investment portfolio. And this isn't just about money, it's about your relationship with money. At each income level, you need to rewire how you think about spending, saving, investing, and even what money means to you. Reality check: your true income bracket after taxes. While you're busy rewiring your money mindset, there's another financial reality check waiting in the wings: the massive gap between what your employer pays you and what actually hits your bank account. What if I told you that your 35K, 75K, or 100K salary is more of a theoretical concept than a financial reality? Let's get real about this. Most of us are walking around with this inflated idea of our financial situation. We land that $75 job and immediately start planning our life as a 75K earner without accounting for the financial vampires that suck away our income before we ever see it. I'm talking about taxes, healthcare premiums, retirement contributions, all those line items on your pay stub that transform your impressive salary offer into a much humbler take-home pay. This is the foundation of financial planning gone completely wrong. When you budget based on your gross income instead of what actually lands in your checking account, you're essentially building your financial house on quicksand. That sweet $6,250 monthly salary at 75K, after federal taxes alone, it might be closer to $4,900, and that's before state taxes, Social Security, Medicare, health insurance, or retirement contributions have taken their bite. Think of your gross income like a water tank. Your salary fills it up, but there are multiple pipes draining it before you get to use the water. Let's break down how federal income tax brackets actually work, because there's a ton of confusion here. If you're single and making $50,000, you're not paying 22% on your entire income. You're paying 10% on the first $11,600, 12% on the amount between $11,601 and $47,150, and 22% on just the portion between $47,151 and $50,000. Each dollar gets taxed at the rate of the bracket it falls into. And here's something that drives me crazy. So many people believe the myth that getting a raise can somehow result in taking home less money because it pushes you into a higher tax bracket. That's completely false. Only the additional income above the bracket threshold gets taxed at the higher rate. Getting a raise will always put more money in your pocket. Geography plays a massive role here too. Your 100K salary in California puts you in a completely different financial position than someone making the same amount in Texas or Florida where there's no state income tax. A single filer making 100K in California might lose an additional $6,000 to $8,000 per year to state taxes compared to their Texas counterpart. That's potentially an entire emergency fund or a significant portion of a down payment on a home. Your filing status changes everything too. married couples filing jointly have different tax brackets than single filers. For 2023, married couples don't hit the 22% bracket until they make over $93,300 combined, compared to $47,150 for singles. The standard deduction is also nearly double, $27,700 for married couples versus $13,850 for singles in 2024. Here's what this looks like in real numbers. At $35K, single, $2,917 monthly pre-tax, $2,079 after federal taxes, 15% reduction. At $75K, single, $6,250 monthly pre-tax, $5,155 after federal taxes, 17.5% reduction. At $100K, single, $8,333 monthly pre-tax, $6,708 after federal taxes, 19.5% reduction. See the pattern? As your income increases, so does the percentage that gets skimmed off the top. And remember, these figures only account for federal income tax. So how do you figure out your true income bracket? Here's a simple formula. Take your annual salary, subtract your pre-tax deductions like health insurance and retirement contributions, then subtract your estimated tax burden, federal plus state FICA. The final number divided by 12 is your actual monthly income, what I call your reality check number. For example, if you're making $75K, $75,000 to annual salary, minus $5,000 for health insurance equals $70,000, minus $7,500 for retirement contributions, 10% equals $62,500, minus approximately $13,000 for federal taxes is $49,900, minus approximately $3,750 for state taxes, varies widely, equals $45,750, minus approximately $5,738 for FICA, 7.65% equals $40,012. That $75K salary just turned into about $40 in actual take-home pay, or roughly $3,334 per month. That's a 47% reduction from your gross salary. Suddenly, those fancy budget templates recommending you spend 30% of your income on housing need a serious reality check. 30% of what income, gross or net, because they're wildly different numbers. The truly maddening part is how many millennials in particular completely overestimate their take-home pay when setting financial goals and making major financial decisions. You might think you can afford that $1,800 apartment because it's only 30% of your $75K salary. But if your actual monthly take-home is $3,334, that apartment is actually eating up 54% of your usable income. This oversight has massive implications for your financial goals. It affects your ability to pay down student loans, which tools like the Federal Student Aid Loan Simulator can help you manage based on your actual take-home pay. It impacts your debt-to-income ratio, which lenders scrutinize when you apply for a mortgage. And it certainly influences how much you can realistically save for emergencies, retirement, or other financial goals. The good news is that understanding your true post-tax income position is a game changer for setting realistic financial goals. When you know exactly what you're working with, you can make informed decisions rather than constantly wondering why your budget keeps breaking despite your good salary. Online calculators can help you determine your actual post-tax income based on your specific situation, including your filing status, state of residence, and pre-tax deductions. Take the time to run these numbers. It's 10 minutes that could save you years of financial frustration and misplaced expectations. Think about it this way. Would you start a road trip without knowing how much gas is actually in your tank? Of course not. Yet millions of people build financial plans without knowing how much money is actually hitting their bank accounts each month. Survival mode, mastering the 35K income bracket. That road trip analogy hits different when you're making $35K a year. At this income level, you're navigating a completely different financial landscape than what most advice columns address. After taxes, we're talking about roughly $2,400 hitting your bank account each month. Let that sink in. This isn't about wealth building yet, it's about financial survival, where a single unexpected $400 expense can force impossible choices between essential needs. Let me be crystal clear. At $35K, traditional financial advice can actually hurt you. The stakes are life-altering. When financial experts casually throw out their cookie-cutter 50-30-20 budget rule, 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings, They're often speaking a language that doesn't translate to your reality. Think of your finances at 35 cal like driving on a road full of potholes with barely functional shock absorbers. Every bump feels 10 times worse. My friend Marcus found this out when his refrigerator died the same week his car needed new brakes. What would be an inconvenience for someone making double became a full-blown crisis that took him months to recover from. Here's what actually works at 35K. A realistic budget allocation that acknowledges your constraints while building toward stability. You're looking at 60% for absolute necessities, housing, basic food, transportation, minimum debt payments, 30% for other needs and minimal wants, and 10% toward emergency savings. As your situation improves, you can gradually shift toward that 20% savings goal financial experts love to preach about. For emergency funds, forget saving 3 to 6 months of expenses right away. That's completely unrealistic when you're stretching every dollar. Focus first on building a $1,000 emergency buffer. This might not sound like much to the financial guru crowd, but it's the difference between handling a car repair and spiraling into high-interest debt that follows you for years. This starter fund breaks the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle by giving you breathing room to handle life's inevitable surprises without immediately reaching for credit cards or predatory loans. Your debt strategy at 35K needs specific tailoring. The conventional wisdom about tackling highest interest debt first makes mathematical sense, but at your income level, the snowball method often works better psychologically. Pay minimum payments on everything, then throw every extra dollar at your smallest debt until it's gone, regardless of interest rate. Each debt you eliminate frees up cash flow, which is absolutely critical when you're working with limited income. Your debt-to-income ratio should ideally stay below 36%, meaning your total monthly debt payments shouldn't exceed $875. Housing is likely your biggest expense, and you need to keep it strictly under control. The standard advice says housing should be 30% of gross income, about $870 monthly. But in many urban areas, that's virtually impossible to find. Creative solutions become necessary. Roommates, house sharing, or living slightly farther from work if transportation costs don't eat the savings. Transportation itself needs to stay around 15% of your income, approximately $437 monthly. If you're financing a car that's pushing this limit, it might be time for a tough conversation with yourself about downgrading. Public transportation, carpooling, or a reliable used vehicle purchased in cash can dramatically improve your monthly cash flow. Food is another area requiring a specific approach. Aim to keep food costs between 10 to 15% of income, $350 to $525 monthly. Meal planning becomes essential. Cooking at home, buying in bulk where possible, and learning to make the most of low-cost ingredients will stretch your dollars much further than takeout habits that financial advice for higher income brackets often assumes you can afford. At 35K, your approach to side hustles needs strategy. Focus on survival side hustles with immediate returns. Look for freelance work using skills you already have, tutoring if you have expertise, or gig economy jobs that provide immediate income without upfront investment. The key is immediacy of payment. Work that pays within days, not months. This creates breathing room in your budget or accelerates debt payoff with an extra $200 to $500 monthly. Contrary to popular advice, your best investment right now isn't the stock market. It's eliminating high-interest debt and building that initial emergency fund. The guaranteed return on paying off a 22% credit card beats even the best market performance. Once you've established your $1,000 emergency fund and tackled high-interest debt, invest in yourself through education or reliable transportation that ensures you never miss work. What's especially frustrating is seeing financial advice that completely ignores the reality of the $35 income bracket. Financial experts love to say things like, just cut out your daily latte, or automate 15% of your income into investments, without acknowledging that many people at this income level are making impossible choices between necessities, not luxuries. The biggest mistake 35K earners make is trying to follow financial advice designed for higher income brackets. When you're earning 35K, focusing on advanced investment strategies while carrying high-interest debt is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Fix the foundations first: emergency fund, high-interest debt elimination, and sustainable budget, before worrying about retirement accounts and investment portfolios. Remember, this stage is temporary. The financial stability you build now will eventually allow you to invest meaningfully and follow more traditional advice. Your future self will thank you for building this solid foundation when everyone else was telling you to skip straight to the roof. Stability mode: optimizing the 50 to 75K income bracket. So you've patched your leaky financial bucket and reached that 50 to 75K sweet spot? Congratulations! But here's the weird thing about making more money. Most people in this bracket are actually saving a smaller percentage of their income than they did at lower levels. You're now standing at the crossroads between paycheck to paycheck survival and actual wealth building, and most people zoom right past this critical transition without changing their money system. When you hit this income level, everything about your financial strategy needs a complete overhaul. What worked before simply won't cut it anymore. You need to fundamentally restructure how you think about saving, investing, and growing your wealth. Look at the numbers. The average person in this bracket has about $59,273 in their 401k, but the median is only $24,939. That massive gap shows the difference between people who understand this bracket requires a system change and those still making outdated decisions with their improved paychecks. Take Ava, a graphic designer who went from $38K to $65K after landing a corporate position. For 6 months, she kept living in her same apartment with roommates and driving her old car while automatically routing her additional income to building her emergency fund and maxing out her 401k match. While her friends celebrated similar raises with new apartments and shopping sprees, Ava built a solid financial foundation that eventually allowed her to buy a modest condo with minimal stress. At 50 to 75K, you finally escaped the financial danger zone where one unexpected expense could derail your entire month. You now have breathing room to build real financial stability, but only if you use it wisely. Most people celebrate their raises by upgrading their lifestyle instead of their financial foundation. Your new budget blueprint. Your budget needs to shift toward long-term growth while maintaining present stability. 50% for needs, housing, food, transportation, basic bills. 20% for long-term savings, retirement accounts and investments. 15% for short-term savings, emergency fund, home down payment. 15% for wants, the fun stuff. Housing costs become particularly tricky at this income level. Aim for housing costs between 28 to 30% of your gross income, not your net. This subtle difference can free up hundreds of dollars monthly for wealth building. In practice, if you're making $60,000 annually, your monthly housing shouldn't exceed $1,500, even if lenders suggest you can afford more. Maximizing tax benefits. One of the biggest advantages of reaching this income bracket is access to meaningful tax benefits. You can now make significant contributions to tax-deferred retirement accounts, which builds your nest egg while lowering your taxable income. For 2024, you can contribute up to $23,000 to your 401k with an additional $7,500 catch-up contribution if you're over 50. Your retirement account strategy should follow this specific sequence to maximize your money. First, if your employer offers a 401k match, contribute enough to get the full match. This is literally free money. Second, eliminate any remaining high-interest debt before making additional retirement contributions. Third, max out a Roth IRA if you qualify, or consider a backdoor Roth if your income is at the higher end. Fourth, return to your 401k and contribute as much as possible toward the annual limit. Finally, if you've maxed everything out, consider opening a taxable brokerage account for additional investments. Automate your success. Strategic automation becomes your secret weapon at this income level. Set up automatic transfers to your savings and investment accounts on payday before you even see the money. Research shows that millennials who automate their finances in this income bracket consistently accumulate more wealth than those who manually transfer funds. The psychological shift matters too. you need to start thinking about optimization rather than survival. This means being more strategic about tax planning, more intentional about investment choices, and more disciplined about avoiding lifestyle inflation. Those who maintain their previous spending habits for at least 12 to 18 months after reaching this income level build emergency funds and retirement accounts significantly faster than their peers. The college education that might have put you in debt initially now starts paying dividends, literally. The average college degree offers a 14% return on investment, which becomes particularly relevant as you reach this income bracket, expanding your financial foundation. The emergency fund calculation changes at this income level. That initial $1,000 buffer was essential when you were making less, but now you should be working toward 3 to 6 months of expenses, not income, but actual expenses, which provides real security against job loss or major life changes. This is where proper insurance becomes critical. Beyond basic health insurance, you should now consider appropriate levels of disability insurance, term life insurance if you have dependents, and potentially an umbrella liability policy to protect your growing assets. For many, student loans remain a significant challenge. This is where refinancing options become valuable. Dropping your interest rate by even 1 to 2% can free up hundreds of dollars annually to redirect toward building wealth. Consider upgrading your financial tracking tools too. Look for more robust options that help you monitor not just spending and saving, but also investment performance, net worth growth, and tax implications of your financial decisions. This income level also opens opportunities for building multiple income streams. Focus on side projects that could eventually generate passive income or acceleration mode, leveraging the 100K plus income bracket. Breaking 6 figures isn't just another step up the income ladder, it's like unlocking a whole new financial game with tools and strategies most people don't even know exist. While you've been focused on building that emergency fund and maxing out your basic retirement accounts at lower income levels, the 100K plus bracket opens doors to financial strategies that can dramatically accelerate your wealth building journey. But here's the thing. When most people finally hit that magical 6-figure mark, they celebrate by upgrading their lifestyle rather than upgrading their financial strategy. They're still mentally operating with the same playbook they used at 75K, just with more zeros attached to their spending habits. Earning 6 figures without implementing advanced money moves is like upgrading from a bicycle to a Ferrari but never taking it out of the driveway. You're leaving serious money on the table. Let's change that by diving into the financial tools that become available once you've broken the 100K barrier. Ever heard of the backdoor Roth IRA? This game-changing strategy allows your investments to grow completely tax-free, with tax-free withdrawals in retirement. Once your income exceeds certain thresholds, you're technically too rich to contribute directly to a Roth IRA. But there's a perfectly legal loophole that high earners can use. You make after-tax contributions to a traditional IRA and then convert those funds to a Roth IRA. It's financial magic that's only available to those who know how to navigate the system. Then there's the often overlooked gold mine known as a health savings account, or HSA. At lower income levels, you might have viewed an HSA as just another medical expense account. But at $100 plus, it transforms into what financial experts call a stealth IRA with triple tax advantages. Your contributions are tax deductible, investments grow tax-free, and withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are completely tax-free. For 2024, you can sock away $4,150 as an individual or $8,300 for families, with an extra $1,000 if you're 55 or older. That's serious tax-sheltered investing capacity that most people completely ignore. When you're making 6 figures, traditional investment approaches become inefficient. This is where strategies like direct indexing come into play. Instead of buying a mutual fund or ETF that tracks an index, you actually own the individual stocks that make up that index. This unlocks powerful tax loss harvesting opportunities. You can sell underperforming stocks to harvest those losses while maintaining your overall investment strategy. These losses offset capital gains elsewhere in your portfolio, potentially saving thousands in taxes annually. At 100K plus, these tax savings become significant enough to meaningfully accelerate your wealth building. Speaking of tax optimization, six-figure earners should seriously consider municipal bonds. The interest earned from these bonds is typically exempt from federal income tax and sometimes state and local taxes as well. While the yields might look underwhelming at first glance, the tax equivalent yield makes them extremely attractive for high-income earners in higher tax brackets. It's about what you keep after taxes, not just what you earn. For those with access to employer-sponsored retirement plans, the Mega Backdoor Roth strategy could be your secret weapon. This advanced technique allows you to make after-tax contributions to your 401k above the standard limits, and then convert those contributions to a Roth IRA. We're talking about potentially tens of thousands in additional tax-advantaged contributions annually. This strategy alone could shave years off your journey to financial independence. Now let's talk about charitable giving, which becomes a powerful financial tool at higher income levels. A donor-advised fund allows you to make a large contribution, take an immediate tax deduction, and then distribute those funds to charities over time. This strategy is particularly valuable in high-income years, allowing you to front-load charitable deductions while maintaining a consistent giving strategy. As your income grows, so should your attention to income stacking, using your primary income to create multiple streams of passive income. The 100K plus bracket provides the capital needed to make meaningful investments in income-producing assets. Instead of upgrading to a luxury car that depreciates immediately, consider investing in dividend-paying stocks, real estate investment trusts, or rental properties that generate cash flow while potentially appreciating in value. Case studies show the dramatic difference these strategies make. Two engineers with identical 120K salaries took different approaches. The first followed conventional wisdom and saved around 15% in traditional retirement accounts. The second implemented the HSA strategy, backdoor Roth contributions, and aggressive tax loss harvesting. After just 10 years, the second engineer had accumulated nearly $200,000 more in net worth, despite enjoying a similar lifestyle in the same neighborhood. The most common pushback I hear about these strategies is that they seem too complicated or time-consuming. But here's the reality check. At 100K plus, spending 10 to 20 hours annually optimizing your financial strategy can literally translate to hundreds of thousands in additional wealth over your lifetime. It's the highest-paying part-time job you'll ever have. Think of it this way. At lower income levels, your financial focus is primarily on defense, building emergency funds and avoiding debt traps. But at six figures, you need to balance defense with a strong offense. Strategic tax planning and investment optimization become exponentially more valuable as your income rises. The difference between good and great financial management at 100K plus is potentially life-changing. What separates the truly wealthy from the merely high income is leveraging specialized financial tools to transform that income into assets that generate even more income. At 100K plus, you finally have the financial firepower to build this virtuous cycle, but only if you upgrade your financial strategy to match your upgraded paycheck. Wealth preservation, mastering the 250K plus income bracket. That virtuous cycle of income-generating assets you've built at 250K plus, it faces an invisible threat that silently drains wealth from even the savviest high earners. Would you believe that many people earning $250,000 annually end up with less net worth than those making half as much, all because they missed a critical psychological shift that separates wealth builders from wealth keepers? Once you cross that 250K threshold, the entire financial game changes. The focus shifts dramatically to preserving and protecting what you've already built. Think of your wealth like a medieval castle. Building it is impressive, but without strong walls and vigilant guards, raiders will eventually breach your defenses and plunder your treasures. The shocking reality is that many high earners focus exclusively on income growth while completely neglecting asset protection strategies. Your increased visibility and financial success make you a target for lawsuits, excessive taxation, and financial predators who specifically hunt for wealthy individuals without proper shields. Here's your wealth preservation checklist for the 250K plus club. Tax loss harvesting should become your new best friend. This technique allows you to strategically sell investments that have decreased in value to offset gains from your winning investments. By doing this methodically throughout the year, not just in December, you can potentially save thousands in taxes annually. Creating a fortress around your wealth means establishing a comprehensive asset protection plan. At 250K plus, seriously consider creating legal entities like trusts or limited liability companies. These structures serve as essential shields that can protect your assets from potential lawsuits, creditors, and other financial threats targeting high-income earners. The psychological aspect of wealth preservation requires perhaps the most challenging transition. Many successful people have spent years in aggressive wealth-building mode. Shifting to preservation requires an entirely different mindset, one that prioritizes security and longevity over rapid growth. It's like switching from being a sprinter to becoming a marathon runner. The skills and approach are completely different. This psychological shift explains why some ultra-high earners lose their fortunes overnight, while others maintain generational wealth. The difference isn't how much they earn, it's their ability to transition from wealth accumulation to wealth preservation at the right time. At 250K plus, true wealth preservation requires what I call wealth fragmentation. Spreading your assets across multiple asset classes, account types, and risk profiles. This approach ensures that no single market downturn, policy change, or economic shift can significantly damage your overall financial position. This means expanding beyond traditional investments into areas like municipal bonds, which offer tax-efficient returns, since the interest earned is often exempt from federal income tax. Depending on where you live, these returns may also be exempt from state and local taxes, a significant advantage for high-income earners facing substantial tax burdens. Estate planning takes on new importance at this income level. It's about creating a comprehensive framework for transferring wealth efficiently to future generations while minimizing estate taxes. Utilizing various types of trusts can shield significant portions of your assets from estate taxes, while ensuring your wealth is distributed according to your specific wishes. Family wealth planning becomes increasingly relevant as your income grows. Create a formalized plan for wealth transfer that includes educating future generations about responsible financial management. Without this element, even substantial inheritances can quickly disappear. We've all heard stories of lottery winners or heirs who squandered millions in just a few years. The tax strategies available at 250K plus go far beyond what most financial advisors typically recommend. Entity structuring, creating the right business entities and understanding how to properly use them can legally shield significant portions of your income from excessive taxation. The timing of income recognition, strategically deciding when to realize capital gains or losses, can save you tens of thousands annually in taxes. Strategic charitable giving through approaches like donor-advised funds creates powerful tax advantages that can dramatically reduce your overall tax burden while supporting causes you care about. What's fascinating is that many high earners completely miss these opportunities. They've mastered earning money but never upgraded their preservation strategy. It's like upgrading to a luxury car, but still driving it like your old beater. You're not taking advantage of the enhanced capabilities that come with your new position. This all requires a level of coordination among financial professionals that most people never need at lower income levels. Your CPA, estate attorney, financial advisor, and insurance specialist should be working together as a cohesive team, not as isolated consultants. This coordinated approach ensures all aspects of your wealth preservation strategy work together harmoniously, rather than creating unforeseen conflicts or gaps in protection. One of the most challenging aspects of wealth preservation is finding the right balance between protection and growth. Being too conservative can lead to wealth erosion through inflation and missed opportunities, while being too aggressive can expose you to unnecessary risks. Finding this balance requires both technical knowledge and emotional discipline, a combination that doesn't come naturally to most high earners who are used to taking calculated risks to advance their careers and businesses. The psychology of income transitions, how to upgrade your money mindset. That virtuous cycle of income-generating assets you've built? At $250,000, it faces an invisible threat that silently drains wealth from even the savviest high earners. Finding that perfect balance between protection and growth is actually about what's happening in your head. Did you know that 70% of lottery winners end up broke within a few years? Their psychological relationship with money never evolved to match their new financial reality. The same invisible problem might be holding you back right now. Let's talk about what happens psychologically when your income jumps. You celebrate with friends, maybe buy something nice, and then you keep running the exact same money software in your brain. Your income might have doubled, but your money mindset is still stuck in your previous tax bracket. Think about it this way. Millennials have developed a totally unique relationship with money compared to previous generations. Research shows they're the holistic wealth generation, seeking balance between financial success and personal well-being. This mindset shift doesn't happen automatically when your income grows. It requires intentional reprogramming. Here's what happens to most people. They get a sweet promotion or land a higher-paying job, and their first instinct is to upgrade their lifestyle proportionally. New apartment? Check. Better car? Obviously. Fancier restaurants? You earned it. Before they know it, they've scaled up their expenses to match their new income, and their bank account looks suspiciously similar to before the raise. The problem isn't the spending itself. It's that they're still operating with the same financial identity that formed when they were making it much less. If you grew up in a household where money was tight, you likely developed a scarcity mindset. This psychological framework makes you focus on immediate needs rather than long-term planning, even when your income no longer justifies that approach. Imagine your financial identity as gears in an engine. Each gear represents a different relationship with money. The survival gear is always in emergency mode, grinding away just to keep the engine running. The stability gear runs smoother, but still focuses on preventing breakdowns rather than acceleration. The growth gear shifts your focus to gaining momentum and speed. Finally, the legacy gear lets you cruise while simultaneously powering other vehicles around you. The survival identity focuses almost exclusively on making it to the next paycheck. Every financial decision feels high stakes, and long-term planning seems impossible. As income grows, many develop a stability identity, where they have some breathing room, but still view money primarily as a tool for security rather than growth. They save more, but hesitate to invest or take calculated risks. The growth identity emerges when someone mentally adjusts to thinking of money as a tool for building wealth rather than just covering expenses. These folks invest consistently, optimize taxes, and view their finances as an ecosystem. Finally, the legacy identity thinks beyond personal wealth to impact, generational wealth transfer, and creating lasting change. The problem? Most people's financial identity lags years behind their actual income level. Your bank account might reflect growth bracket, but your spending habits might still be stuck in survival mode. So how do you recognize when you're operating with outdated financial beliefs? You might feel intense guilt about spending on anything unnecessary, even though you can easily afford it. You avoid investing because it feels too risky. You hoard cash excessively, or you make major financial decisions based on emotion rather than strategy. Take Alex, a software developer who went from making $45K to $110K in just 3 years. Despite nearly tripling his income, his net worth barely changed. Why? Every time he got a raise, he increased his expenses proportionally. Nicer apartment, fancier car, premium subscriptions. He was still making decisions with his $45K mindset, where small luxuries were rare treats that justified splurging. At $110K, those same decisions prevented him from building any meaningful wealth. The transition between financial identities requires specific mental shifts. Moving from survival to stability means developing trust in your ability to handle financial challenges. The shift from stability to growth requires embracing calculated risk and seeing money as a tool for wealth creation rather than just security. And transitioning to a legacy mindset means expanding your financial horizon beyond your own lifetime. Here's a practical exercise you can try today. Write down the money beliefs you learned growing up. Things like saving is always better than spending, or investing is gambling. Then critically examine each belief and ask yourself, is this still serving me at my current income level, or is it holding me back? Another crucial factor in your financial mindset is your peer group. Your financial behaviors are strongly influenced by those around you. If you're earning 100K plus, but all your friends are still in the 50K range, you might feel pressure to downplay your financial success or match their spending patterns. The solution? Intentionally curate financial peer relationships that support your goals. This doesn't mean ditching friends who earn less. It means being conscious of how your social circle influences your money decisions. The critical psychological shift when your income jumps is moving from a scarcity mindset focused on survival, will I have enough, to a growth mindset focused on optimization, how can I maximize what I have, and ultimately to a legacy mindset focused on impact. How can my wealth create positive change? Making these shifts requires actively reprogramming your relationship with money. Start by becoming aware of your current financial identity, and then consciously practice thinking in alignment with the identity that matches your current income bracket, not the one you've outgrown. Financial habits that scale. What to start doing now before your income grows. While upgrading your money mindset is crucial, there's a secret set of financial habits that millionaires practice religiously. And surprisingly, they work even when you're making just $35K. What if the difference between staying stuck and building wealth isn't just how much you make, but tiny daily actions you haven't been told about? Here's something that might shock you. The financial habits you're practicing right now could be setting you up for either massive success or total disappointment when your income eventually grows. Think of it like trying to run a marathon after only practicing sprints. Sure, you know how to run, but the techniques that work for short distances will absolutely crush you over 26.2 miles. Financial habits work the same way. The basic survival techniques that help you make it through the month at 35K won't automatically scale when your income jumps to 75K or 100K. But there's good news. You can start developing scalable money habits right now that will supercharge your financial growth when those bigger paychecks start rolling in. Let me introduce you to financial habit stacking. Just like stacking your morning routine, wake up, brush teeth, shower, coffee, you can build financial habits that compound over time. But how exactly does this work? And which habits give you the biggest bang for your buck when you're still making entry-level money? For example, tracking every dollar might seem tedious at $35, but it's absolutely essential. This awareness habit becomes exponentially more valuable as your income grows. Tracking $2,400 a month might take 15 minutes weekly, but when you're handling $8,000 plus monthly, having this habit already locked in means you won't suddenly feel overwhelmed. Many people wait until they're drowning in financial complexity before developing tracking habits. It's like trying to learn swimming in the middle of the ocean during a storm. Starting while your finances are simpler gives you a massive advantage. The same goes for budgeting. At 35K, your budget categories are fairly straightforward, perfect for experimenting with different methods to find what clicks. Maybe zero-based budgeting, the envelope method, or a simple 50-30-20 split. The percentages will change as your income grows, but assigning purposes to your money before spending it serves you forever. Let's talk about building your financial automation muscles. Think of it like fitness. You wouldn't bench press 300 pounds on your first day at the gym. Start small with just $10 a week, auto-transferred to savings. This trains your brain and finances to function with less manual intervention. As your income grows, you simply increase the amounts. One client started with just $25 a week at 35K, and by the time she hit 75K, she was comfortably auto-saving $800 monthly because the habit was already established. Her lifestyle never had a chance to absorb that extra income. Investing follows the same progression. The amount matters far less than establishing consistency. At 35K, maybe you're only putting $50 monthly into an index fund. That's building the neural pathways that make investing feel normal and necessary. When you reach 75K or 100K, scaling up to investing 15% or 20% of your income will feel like a natural progression rather than a scary new behavior. The psychological barrier is often much harder to overcome than the financial one. Debt management habits are equally important. Learning to prioritize paying down high-interest debt at a lower income teaches financial discipline that serves you well as your income grows. Many high earners still struggle with credit card debt because they never mastered this fundamental habit early on. What about developing financial decision frameworks that evolve with your income? This means creating a mental checklist for money decisions. At 35K, your framework might be simple. Is this essential? Do I have the cash? Will this put me in debt? As your income grows, the framework expands. Is this aligned with my values? Will this asset appreciate? How does this affect my tax situation? Does this move me toward financial independence? These guardrails keep you on track regardless of income, like a financial GPS that recalculates as your situation changes. Want to know a secret about wealthy people? They don't just track their money differently, they track it consistently. A study of millionaires found that most could tell you exactly how much they spent last month on different categories. This habit requires discipline, not a high income. Regular financial education compounds beautifully too. Spending just 20 minutes daily learning about finances at 35K gives you over 120 hours of financial education in a year. That knowledge compounds like interest. When you hit 100K, you'll already have the knowledge framework to make optimal decisions instead of scrambling to learn everything at once. Remember that waiting too long to develop these fundamental habits can actually limit your wealth accumulation. The compound effect of starting early, even with small amounts, is staggering. A person making $35 who saves just 5% and increases that percentage with each raise will often end up wealthier than someone who starts at 100Ks but waits 5 years to begin saving. Another powerful habit, avoiding lifestyle inflation. Each time your income increases, maintaining your current lifestyle for just 3 to 6 months and directing additional income towards savings creates enormous momentum. This doesn't mean never upgrading. It means being intentional about when and how. The beauty of these scaling habits is that they work at any income level. Whether you're at 35K or 75K, these practices lay the groundwork for financial success when you hit 100K and beyond. Your complete financial roadmap, benchmarks for every income stage. These core habits are your foundation, but here's the million-dollar question. Are you actually where you should be financially right now? Those save 10x your salary by retirement rules sound great until you realize they were created for people making 6 figures. Let's trash those one-size-fits-all benchmarks and get real about what success actually looks like at different income levels. Look, we've all seen those scary financial articles telling us we should have saved absurd amounts by age 30, 40, or 50. But these cookie-cutter benchmarks are about as useful as a chocolate teapot for most regular people. They rarely account for your actual income bracket, which completely changes what's realistic for you. Traditional advice from places like Fidelity suggests having 1x your salary saved for retirement by age 30, 2x by 35, and eventually 10x by age 67. But this advice means something totally different when you're making $35 versus 100K plus. The financial game has completely different rules depending on your income level. What actually makes sense for your situation? If you're earning 35K, success by age 30 is having 1 solid month of expenses covered in your emergency fund. Someone in the 75K bracket should aim for 3 to 6 months of expenses saved, plus around 10% of their income in retirement accounts. Here's some perspective. The Federal Reserve reports only 54% of American adults have enough savings to last 3 months. If you're in that group, you're already ahead of nearly half the country. This is a major achievement, especially in lower income brackets. Your debt-to-income ratio matters tremendously, arguably more than your raw savings number. Financial experts suggest keeping it under 36% for optimal financial health, with housing costs ideally staying under 28% of your income. These ratios mean different things across income brackets. At 35K, keeping housing under 30% might mean roommates or less desirable locations. At 75K, that percentage gives you more options, and at 100K plus, you can maintain that percentage while enjoying significantly better housing. Let's talk about realistic net worth targets. At 25, making $35 with student loans, a negative net worth is normal. Your benchmark is making progress on loans while building that emergency fund. At 75K, aim for a net worth of 0.5x your annual income by 30, and at 100K plus, 1 to 2x becomes more realistic. Student loans are reshaping financial milestones for millions. Many millennials delay major life decisions because of educational debt. About 39% of borrowers between 25 to 35 aren't saving for retirement at all while focusing on student loans. This isn't failure. It's modern financial reality for many income brackets. Now let me introduce something way more powerful than generic benchmarks, the financial freedom ratio. Think of this as your personal liberation metric. It shows exactly how close you are to breaking free from paycheck dependence, customized to your specific situation. Here's how the financial freedom ratio works. Take your total passive income from investments, side hustles, etc., and divide it by your monthly expenses. The result is your financial freedom percentage. At 35K, reaching just 10% might require significant effort but represents amazing progress. At 75K, aim for 25 to 30%, and at 100K plus, pushing toward 50% becomes achievable. This ratio works like building a financial ladder. Each rung you climb strengthens your position and makes the next step easier. Someone who masters the 10% level at a lower income has developed habits that will accelerate their progress when their income increases. It's like training with ankle weights. When you finally take them off, you'll fly. Your income bracket also determines your ideal investment to cash ratio. At 35K, keeping more cash accessible makes sense given the thin margin for emergencies. As your income grows, this ratio should shift. Someone making 100K plus can afford to keep a smaller percentage in cash while investing more aggressively. Housing benchmarks need context too. The standard 30% of income on housing isn't wrong, but at 35K in an expensive area, 40% might be temporarily unavoidable. Meanwhile, 100K plus earners should aim to keep housing well under 30% to accelerate wealth building through other investments. How do you know when you're ready to level up your financial strategies? You've mastered your current income bracket when your emergency fund targets are fully funded, your debt-to-income ratio is below the recommended threshold, you're consistently hitting retirement savings targets, you find extra money at the end of most months, your financial stress has significantly decreased. When you hit these milestones, start implementing strategies from the next bracket up, even before your income catches up. This proactive approach puts you ahead when that raise or promotion comes through. These benchmarks create a progressive path that builds on itself. Meeting the 35K goals establishes the foundation for the 75K objectives when your income grows. Each level prepares you for the next, like building a safety net one layer at a time. First, the basic mesh that catches you during emergencies, then stronger cords that support bigger life goals, and finally, a robust network that creates true financial freedom. Remember that financial benchmarks should be guideposts, not judgment tools. Your specific situation, including location, family responsibilities, health needs, and career path, all impact what normal looks like for you. The goal isn't matching some arbitrary number, but making consistent progress from wherever you're starting. Next steps. Your income-specific action plan. Those personalized benchmarks are great, but knowing and doing are totally different battles. Most financial advice ends with vague next steps like make a budget or start investing, whether you're making 35K or killing it at 100K plus. It's like telling someone to eat healthy without giving them a grocery list or meal plan. Let's fix that right now with action plans so specific to your income level that you'll wonder if I've been secretly tracking your spending habits. What you really need is a plan tailored to your actual paycheck. not some generic advice that was probably designed for someone in a totally different situation. Let's break this down by income level with actual steps you can take in the next 30 days. For the $35K earners, you're working hard to stretch those dollars. Your plan needs to build stability without overwhelming you. 1. Week 1. Track every penny you spend, not for judgment, but to see where your money's actually going. Most people are shocked to find they're dropping $15 to $20 weekly on convenience store snacks or $50 on random Amazon purchases. 2. Week 2. Create a budget prioritizing essentials. Forget the standard 50-30-20 rule. You might need more like 60-20-20, with 60% for absolute necessities. 3. Week 3. Set an emergency fund goal of $500 to $1,000 to handle unexpected car repairs or medical bills. 4. Week 4. Automate a small weekly transfer, even just $10 or $20, to your emergency fund. This consistent action builds the saving habit that will serve you at every income level. Start with simple tools like Mint or the free version of YNAB that focuses on giving every dollar a job. For the $50 to $75K earners, you've got more breathing room, but also more chances to accidentally inflate your lifestyle. 1. Week 1. Review your current spending and identify money leaks. That $15 daily lunch habit? That's nearly $4,000 a year that could be working for you instead of just filling your stomach. 2. Week 2. Maximize retirement contributions. Check if you're getting your full employer match. That's literally free money you're leaving on the table. 3. Week 3. Set specific savings goals beyond retirement. Maybe a house down payment or starting a side business. Having concrete goals makes saving feel purposeful rather than punishing. 4. Week 4. Establish automatic contributions to different savings buckets and research investment options. Apps like Betterment or Wealthfront can help you start investing easily, while Personal Capital gives you a comprehensive view of your entire financial picture. For the 100K plus crew, congrats on 6 figures. Your plan focuses on acceleration strategies. 1. Week 1. Conduct a complete tax optimization review. At your income, tax efficiency becomes nearly as important as investment returns. Meet with a tax professional who specializes in your bracket, not just any tax preparer. 2. Week 2. Analyze your investment portfolio for diversification and tax efficiency. Are you using tax-advantaged accounts like HSAs or backdoor Roth IRAs? 3. Week 3. Explore additional income streams that leverage your existing skills. Your primary income should be creating opportunities for passive income through investments, not just funding a fancier lifestyle. For Week 4, implement at least one advanced strategy like direct indexing or tax loss harvesting. Consider platforms like M1 Finance for customized portfolios or TaxBit for crypto investors looking to optimize their tax situation. For the 250K plus bracket, your challenges are different but just as real. 1. Week 1. Review your asset protection strategy. Are your assets properly structured to minimize liability? Consult with both an estate attorney and a financial advisor who specializes in high net worth clients. 2. Week 2. Update your estate plan and insurance coverage. Proper umbrella insurance isn't optional at your income level, it's essential. 3. Week 3. Assess your charitable giving strategy for both impact and tax efficiency. A donor-advised fund might offer significant advantages over direct donations. 4. Week 4. Implement at least one wealth preservation strategy like establishing trust structures or exploring family limited partnerships. Consider platforms like Dynasty for estate planning or Adapar for comprehensive wealth management. These customized plans matter because most financial tools are designed with middle-income users in mind. Popular budgeting apps typically suggest spending about 30% of your income on housing, regardless of whether you make $35 or $150K. That's like giving a bicycle and a Ferrari the same maintenance schedule. If you're earning $35K in a high-cost city, you might realistically need 40 to 45% for housing just to have a safe place to live. Meanwhile, someone making $150K following that same guideline might end up with a luxury apartment that unnecessarily eats up income that could be building serious wealth. The same problem happens with savings recommendations. Most apps suggest saving 15-20% regardless of income. But at 35Ks, consistently saving even 5 to 10% might be a significant win, while someone at 150K might need to save 25 to 30% to maintain their lifestyle in retirement. What makes these income-specific plans work is that they meet you where you are, not where some financial guru thinks you should be. They acknowledge your real constraints while pushing you toward the next level of financial success. Financial progress isn't about perfect execution of an impossible plan. It's about consistent implementation of a realistic one. The person making $35 who automatically saves $50 every month will eventually outperform the 100K earner who keeps planning to save someday but never starts. So which income bracket are you in right now? Grab the plan that matches your current reality, not the one you wish you had. The key isn't perfection. It's taking that first step with a plan actually designed for your shoes, not someone else's. So here's the thing about personalized financial strategies. They actually work. The research is crystal clear on this. Those millennials who've used custom budgeting techniques tailored to their specific situations, they've crushed their debt and built savings in ways generic advice never could. Financial advice that doesn't fit your situation is like wearing shoes that aren't your size, uncomfortable, and holding you back. Different income brackets require completely different approaches. What works for someone making 35K might hold you back at 75K. Ready to hit your money goals? The stats don't lie. Personalized financial plans consistently deliver real results when they match your unique circumstances. It's time to get serious about tailoring your strategy